I could just see the whole artwork finished in my mind's eye because I was thinking of how a river really looks. It stretches out in the distance and it's flat, it's silver, it's reflective, mirror-like, shiny, and curvy. The critical mass for the Visual Arts Public Works Project has a site, the Gateway Arch National Park. And then the theme, of course, is the gateway to the west. The route west was the Missouri River. So that's what I chose. That's what I wanted to show was the navigable Missouri River. Part of my goal was to reference the arch because that's what the park is about. So I just knew that my river had to look like that. It had to have the same aesthetic. It had to be shiny and silver and flat and simple and curvy. I used the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers navigation charts for the Missouri River. So it's the navigable Missouri, which is 735 miles out of the total river, which is 2,341 miles. I was fascinated by these maps. They were just so beautiful, and they showed every town and every river bend, and my piece has every single river bend in it. I had no idea how big the artwork would be. I got a very close estimate by measuring the vertical distance, which was 66 feet, the horizontal distance, which was 72 feet, and then I took the hypotenuse of the triangle, and that was 105 feet. I was noticing the names of these river bends were just so interesting. They were very poetic and evocative and historic, and some of them were the family names of the families who owned that river bottom land for generations, and others were names like Cranberry or Papillon, which means butterfly in French, and then more historic names, Slaughterhouse, Bootlegger, and Bushwhacker, and Pickney Bend. So I just fell in love with all those riverbend names, so I named the artwork at the very beginning. I gave it the title Riverbend. I did not know what I was going to make it out of. All I knew is that ideally I wanted something very shiny. Finally, after 4 months, I found this brand new material that had really just been invented this year, and it was called Alumographic Silver. It's an aluminum substrate that's made of nanoparticles of aluminum, and they're vacuum attached to this backing, and then it has an adhesive on the back with a paper that you peel off. Once I got all the material, it was on rolls, so I unrolled it, and it was in 10-foot segments, and I decided the best way to approach this would be to make the river in segments, and to make each segment the same length, so it would be modular. And I also had to put registration marks so everything would match up exactly on both ends of each segment. And also I had to code it so I wouldn't get mixed up as to which segment was which. So what I did is I drew the river with a pencil on paper. I traced it onto the silver material and I cut it out by hand with a pair of scissors. My concern was when I had laid out the paper charts, it was windy and they kept blowing away. I bought 144 bottles of water and I thought, well, that's symbolically great. We'll just weight the river down with water and that will hold it in place. It's pretty heavy. And then as we move along and get the segments attached, we'll just drink the water. In order to install this artwork, obviously, I couldn't do it by myself. So part of my process was hiring some people to be part of my team. And I chose some of my former students that I knew were really in good shape physically and also very flexible, but most of all, really meticulous because of the registration that was required between the different pieces. And then critical mass was wonderful. They provided a whole group of volunteers. It was 96 degrees and the heat index was way over 100. And my team and I were down on the hard pavement on our hands and knees for 8 hours in the heat. And Literally, I think each person ended up drinking about 25 bottles of the water. The process of installing it was to peel the paper off of the back and then to place it exactly where the river segment needed to go. Then the next step, there were 4 steps after that. The next step was to gently press it flat with our palms to attach it, and then to take our fingertips and literally go around the entire edge of each segment, which was over 8 feet around each little segment, and press each little rock to seal the edge. And then to take a hard rubber roller and go over it to really attach it well, and then to take a soft roller and attach it to make sure that down in the crevices on the interior, the adhesive had touched the backing and the rocks. My team was amazing, but I just have to thank them so much because I couldn't have done it without them, and it was really a huge collaboration. When we finished it, it looked all somewhat blue that day and kind of cool, but other days it has more of a green cast, and if it's a cloudy day or a rainy day, it looks like snow or ice or white or silver. Part of my whole reason for being an artist is I don't like art to be hands-off. I like it to be approachable and engaging and interactive. That's so for this particular piece, from the very beginning, my whole idea was I wanted people to walk on it, to run on it, sit on it, lie on it, and also to ride your bike across it or skateboard across it. So I wanted people to be free and to be welcomed and to be able to touch it. My wish for Riverbend is that people come upon it and it surprises them, and that it delights them, and that it glitters, and that they can enjoy it in many different ways and at many different levels. They could just look at it and think, oh, it's really pretty and it's fun and I'll just walk on it. But Riverbend can also be enjoyed on a much deeper, more symbolic level. So if people are interested, they can listen to my podcast on my website, and they can learn more about the history and more about the Missouri River.